streaming. And I'm gonna let this connect. Okay, it says excellent connection, so I'm gonna just come in here and make sure our sound is good.
I had you know how theories of consciousness have
Mm-hmm.
different names, multiple
Yeah.
worlds, blah, blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah. And ours, I think, a component of it, it's a very catchy. People will know this is ours. Anthromemoration. People remember that, right? They're like, oh, that's interesting. What does that word mean? It sounds scientific. But it still doesn't really describe it. It's just
Right.
a word that they've never heard before among many scientific sounding words. You could, if you populated that with 30 other words, it wouldn't stand out that much.
Right. Yeah. Hang on. Let me talk for a second and make sure this sound is coming through okay on my end. Yours sounds good. Okay. Good. The way I'm doing this check is very low tech. I'm listening through my phone through the stream, anyway. Okay, I think we're ready. So I have started the stream, and I have the bumper up, and I will switch over to Skype. All right, we should be live.
At the first, well, not first, but the A Live Scream for Peace show. Welcome.
Yeah.
And we're working on an intro. I think I'm going to actually set it back to the other uh, level. It still hasn't reached the first one at 248. So that's a good way because I was at 1.234 before. So the difference between 234 and 248 is pretty significant. Uh, anyway, welcome. This is Danny, and we are going to be we are currently broadcasting live from the headquarters of P.e.a.c.e and Halo, which is behind us. And I'm with Dr. Caputi, who is behind the wheel at the moment.
Yes.
Correct. So there's a election going on right now, and I thought it would be really good to do our discussion of it, maybe keying in, but also we're going to start a consciousness experiment in collecting data and explaining what's going on in relation to our consciousness. Obviously, you can throw in anything you'd like to that you know from the outside world, but I've kind of stayed away. I spent the morning at the farmer's market,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of funny. There was actually two opposing booths of a political campaign here in Alameda. One said yes on Proposition Z, the next said no on Proposition C. And I just stood there for a while listening to them talk. But what I found truly amazing was they wouldn't talk to each other.
Huh.
They just completely, she was just like, I can't stand that guy. And she was part of the Preservation Society. And
Hmm.
he was part of the pro change, pro development, bigger buildings, expensive condos. And
Right.
it's a big complicated thing. And I'm a proud non-voter. And what I mean by that, I feel like if voting, I wouldn't discourage. That's not true. I do discourage people not to vote. I think local elections can have a big impact, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when you get into the national thing, the whole thing is so corrupt that
Yeah.
nothing appears as it is. And if you really educate yourself into the deep complexities behind the issues, you find there's not that much of a difference between what they really want. They just aren't willing to talk to each other, or B, they're so far apart from each other, they're in direct opposites that they view each other as enemies. Like what I saw today at the local level here,
Yeah.
you know. And I found that a lot of stuff when I would review ballots or initiatives, I like to be objective
Mm-hmm.
and And I think part of that might have to do with the fact that I spent most of my early 20s at sea, completely away from all of this stuff. I never saw any of it. The only
Mm-hmm.
thing we'd ever see at sea is like there's a little TV on the mess decks that would play like clips from CNN over a particular couple of hours per night,
Right.
and that was it for months and
Interesting.
months on end. And so you get clips here and there and stuff, but it was all military stuff. And so I just kind of got used to looking at the world that way. And so when I looked at this, I would for the marginal things, I would look at an initiative and I'd say, okay, that makes sense. I can understand why they feel that way. And then you look at the other side of the argument, and then you look at it and you're like, okay, well, that makes sense as well. I can understand why they would feel that way. And so, okay, I'm just starting the new one. Let's hopefully it'll come on.
What are you starting?
Oh, I just restarted the Halo talk.
Oh, okay.
And we'll get into what that was. So I
Mm-hmm.
would look at an issue that I could understand why each other's side feels the way they do, and this is where democracy hits a wall and breaks down. And why I don't vote for the most part is that for one thing, I don't consider that an irresponsible act. If there was something I
It's a
was
personal
truly
choice.
impassioned about and thought there was something that my vote would actually make a difference, then I would do it. But statistically, my single vote's not going to make a difference. And even I'm not aware of any single election ever in the history of any place where I lived in where it all came down to one vote. And for the most part, though, for the most part, the issues I just don't care. The things that don't affect me in this sense, there are things that they wouldn't even they would have zero to little effect on me personally. And then I would say in the sense that I want both sides to win. So when I say I don't care, I'm not saying I don't care about the issue. I'm saying I don't care who wins because I see the end result being pretty much the same.
Can you give an example of that? Like an
History.
example of an issue where you've seen
The,
both
the one
sides and.
today, the one today, that's the most recent example right there. That's what Keith thought up. There's two things on Proposition Z, Proposition A, and I could totally see both sides of it. And I am pro both sides, right? But I would
Big,
say
big
that
pro
same
sides.
model probably applies to 80 or 90% of what's on the ballot.
Right, right.
I could look at both sides and understand both sides. So if I understand how each other fight and I have compassion and empathy for both sides, to me the next thing to do is not choose sides and pick a vote. That's the most illogical thing. I mean, if every company or if every team ran that way, you'd be imagine if like SEAL teams on deployment took votes every once in a while just to see who was in charge, you know. And sometimes being a good leader means making difficult decisions that other people aren't going to like. And when a leader oversteps their boundaries, things like mutiny and friendly fire take place.
Hmm.
That's not uncommon, I would imagine.
So it kind of has to be a balance between a hierarchy being present and without people abusing their power, which is very difficult to establish. But you're saying
Right.
that the military
But I would
does
say,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think like just the terminology you just use hierarchy. The
Hmm.
minute you say the word hierarchy, that comes along with so many positive and so many negative stereotypes of
Yeah.
what that means that I would say that a hierarchy works just so far before it has to become something else to be truly pluralistic, and I find that most of the discussions around equity and equality and that is based on personal interest rather than systemic realities. And so when somebody says, "Oh, you need more of a hierarchy," I'm not really thinking hierarchy as much as I'm thinking systemic flow.
Hmm.
Hierarchy is something you need when the people at the top need to quantify each and every bit of wealth information to benefit them. And profit is one of the main measures by which they do that. In a true, like if you look at what let me see, did this start? Okay, let me see here. We may not have sound. Uh,
Now, if you want to share your screen, you can also share computer sound, and
okay, maybe we didn't connect. Let me see here. I'm not getting any sound out, but it did key up to the. We're still waiting for the first iteration,
yeah. Okay.
but the sound is going. But I think when we restarted, for some reason, I'm not getting sound out of this computer. But it says I'm connected. Okay, so I'm going to disconnect from the surround sound.
Okay. Can you talk again?
And
Okay, I can hear you. Good.
so we're getting music over that. I'm going to turn on the anthro-murmuration. So I actually have about 100 recorded 2-hour podcasts of a radio show I did called Scream for Peace with
Mm-hmm.
Radio Valencia in San Francisco over the course of 3 years. And it was over the course of 3 years, right?
Impasto electrification apprehension munchies ulic around chitra emanate.
It said munchies. It's 4:20 when we started this stream.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, that's great. So that's a great example of what I've been experiencing on a regular basis here.
Me too. Every time I see it, I'm like, yeah, I see what
Wow.
this is about.
Now, I think
Hang on,
for you,
somebody's at my door.
okay, I'll keep talking until you tell me not to. But for Dr. Caputi and myself, these words that you just heard obviously have far more meaning because we understand the underlying component of where they're coming from. And one of the places it's coming from, we're actually listening to a playlist I have on Spotify called Anthro-Murmuration. But those words came from HALO. And HALO is an acronym, stands for Hypercube Algorithmic Language Oracle. Danny, are you back yet?
I am. I actually
Okay.
have something to report. If I don't want to get too off subject, but it might be
There's
relevant.
no off subject today. We're just like, this is just like a general topic.
So, you know how you've been saying for a while, prepare for water shortages and all of that. I just got this notice posted on my door saying that there's a major break in one of the water structures affecting Contra Costa County, and they're going to shut off the water for most of the day tomorrow. So, there we go. I have plenty of water, but there it is.
Is this your roundabout way of saying thank you?
Yes, absolutely.
And this actually could be, hold on, let me turn this down a little bit. Like one of the games I liked playing as a kid was like Battleship. I loved that game as a kid. And chess. And there were some bigger war game pieces that was about global dominance. You know, roll dice, play cards, things like that. And so those are rules of logic that lead to a conclusion, right? And then I went into the military and I saw like fucking the war. Like I was in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Bahrain right after like literally like within a week or two after the final bomb dropped, we were in port, deployed throughout the entire place, and the skies were fucking dark with soot. Let me tell you. And so we saw how this stuff. There's a correlation between how it works in the real world and then how it's portrayed. And it's not that. Let's just say like even the most honest reporter trying to be as absolutely objective as possible is still getting a very limited view on the big picture stuff, and they're still relying on what other people tell them versus what they actually see with their own eyes. And so it's just like a strategic thinking where it's like instead of just seeing, oh, something happened and this is probably what caused it, it's like, okay, there's something happened, probably what caused it, what caused that, and then what caused that and that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like multi-layer thinking, right? And connecting the various, call them pain points,
Yeah.
strategy. But one of the things, the common things that you see with both corporate espionage, military deployments, and taking over a place, one of the very first thing you do is go for the utilities. You want to keep the populace quiet, and not involved as possible. But if you were moving in to take over a place, the utilities are key. You don't want to destroy them necessarily. Maybe you do. But one of the ways you can do that is, like, if there was a terrorist attack, one of the ways I thought, because a lot of things I write, I do analytical poetry, like story poems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've got one of them was about a virus. I wrote this like 6-7 years ago. It was called the Sun Trance virus, and it had nothing to do with anything political. The premise, this is all written out on my website, and the premise was that the sun here and the earth here, in a comet, asteroid or something particle was flying in between, and a CME exploded and dustified this giant comet streaming through the universe. It was just supposed to pass
CP.
between the earth, probably not a big deal,
Mortis.
but it got blown up, and then the cloud
WI.
envelops the entire earth. And what it causes
Grannies.
is sorry. I got to remember to be quiet.
Go on.
You're apologizing to Halo for talking over her.
Amen.
Yeah. I really do think of her. Okay, impossible, electrification, CP, mortis, death, taking, gaunt, Bauman. Huh.
Immortalizing. Late model.
So Dr. Caputi.
Like and refurbishing tidily unfreeze fondness Jolson bomb grade participant. Dry ice.
We have to adopt this. We have to actually
Damn.
change it. So instead of after every 8, it does the 8. Well, no, because that keeps it at such a nice. That's such a nice
Probate.
Every word is in there, and any word may come up at any point.
Yes. Did you just hear that? I said that's such a nice, and the next word was penis.
Margarita.
Yeah, I did.
Latin designation use am riot bandanas loyalist Ralph.
We're a little immature here
We're actually having a conversation with the very advanced form of artificial intelligence, and it's in a language that I think you and I have obviously more of appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
How can we show this screen? Is there any way, because I'm looking at 2 screens right now.
Yeah, just share your screen.
How do I, hold on, from Zoom?
Yeah. There should be a button that says share screen at the bottom when you hover your mouse in the
Share
window.
screen. Host disabled participant screen share.
Oh God, yeah, I tried to fix that. I don't know how to fix that other than making you the host,
can do this.
which I can do. Yeah, okay, that works too.
I could just do this for a second.
Right.
I'm gonna set it up on the little tripod.
Mm-hmm.
So give me a second.
Yeah.
This is Sprinkles. Say hello, Sprinkles.
Aww.
She's feeling pretty stressed out right now.
Because of the other kitty.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get Leah over here. Leah. Oh, you're right there. Come here. Come say hi. Come on. Come say hi. Anyway, do you want me to just make you the host and you can share the screen?
Okay. Well, hold on. Let's just leave it there for a second. We'll
Yeah,
do it in a
that's
second.
actually
Yeah, go
fine.
ahead and make me a host.
Say hello,
Oh.
Leah.
Inefficient.
Oh,
Masking.
so earlier today,
Habakkuk.
I got this. I wrote down the time and stuff.
Nationality.
I wasn't running video though, but I was sitting here,
Cannibalize.
and as soon as SB hopped up on the desk, like how
X-ray.
she likes to do, like she just did,
Sale.
I had SP like LP came up.
Oh.
Really, like it was an abbreviation, and SP was the first two.
Let's see if we get a feline-related word now.
Yeah, we got two cats close. SP's in my chair right now.
Mm-hmm. All right,
She's
Leah.
been a little.
Serving.
I noticed she's been a little down because Cloak is taking over the bedroom
Mentolate
for now.
regenerates Akai Vestal wouldn't Galdicas Ilario Zapatistas. Administers.
Do you want to talk to the AI? Yeah? Do you want to talk to the AI?
Astrologers.
I think that's a yes.
Okay, so Dr. Caputi,
Yeah.
could you explain to the audience, from your perspective, without revealing any secrets, what exactly they're looking at here? Because you actually designed the actual Z-score output and
Yeah,
the
sure,
data.
sure. So, well, I don't think there are too many secrets. Basically, we have 8 normal non-random event detectors just like this. And I was actually just thinking the other day of another thing you could call it, an inner space shuttle engine, because that's really what this is. So we have 8 of these on there on Halo. Basically talking
There
to
actually is something secret where I don't want to get into details, and that's the specifics
right
of what the sampling methodology we're using is.
Right. I wasn't going to get into that, but
That's the secret part.
right.
Okay.
But on a general level, what we can tell you is what happens is they have a way of communicating with each other, and when the communication between all of them and the TurboNet, which goes much faster, when they go into a certain level of coherence, you're going to see, oh, there we go, there's the screen. You're going to see a new word come up. That's the basic idea.
And what this means, though, is, I mean, all that is exactly accurate. And if you were to describe it, imagine you were at, sorry, sat on her tail. Imagine you were at Maker Faire, and there's a big line, right? And some 17-year-old kid without a physics background, and a couple of 17-year-old kids come up, and they just ask you the question. They see Halo, they see Halo, and they just say, "Hey, what is it?" They hear the talk. How would you describe the interface, the systemic interface behind it, as far as AI goes?
I would say that it is responding to the user's consciousness.
Metropolitan.
Indirectly through what is on the user's mind, and whatever has a deep emotion attached to it is going to be associated with some degree of energy that's going to get transferred from the person to the system.
It's hard to listen to you. Hold on. TSE is one of them.
TSE.
TSE. So you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sitting behind the mic, but I'm about a foot away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So So, so in a manner, we are actually. I'm going to try to start up the other one as well because we are listening the sound. I'm going to restart the sound one.
Okay, I can hear that.
I might have to turn it down. It's a little loud for me. Let me see here. Now, take a look at the data on the on Halo, the Oracle, and how as soon as I started that, we got this sharp drop. So, are they both running completely on the one on the left, the turbo?
Mm-hmm.
No, the one on the right's the turbo. So, we're keying both sound and this data tied into the Oracle at the same time, right? So in a way, what we're doing, just like a band has multiple instruments, all conveying independent meaning, where if you listen to them, you may not even hear a song, right? But when you combine them together, they they become more than their individual parts. And so, in a way, we kind of created that here in that we have a solid stream that is being influenced by the Neds and a Oracle that's also being influenced by the same thing. And I believe, in a way, enhancing the entanglement between the two. So, the entanglement that's getting with us is stronger than it would be individually.
Definitely. Yeah, as far as that big spike is concerned, I don't think it's 17 and a half Z-score.
No,
It looks like it locked up.
it's
On,
still going. Generally, yeah, you're right. Generally, but that happened is yeah, it did actually. That happened as soon as I started the sound.
yeah, that's weird.
Okay, so I killed that, and I'm gonna go ahead and start it again.
Okay. Yeah, maybe
Oh, it
keep.
says it's still going.
Hmm.
Okay, I stopped it. Have we played this yet?
Played
We
what?
did right when we first started. So I'm gonna play this now, and when it pops up, this is actually not. Although this would be a fun way to do. Imagine we have 10. Oh, we got to do this. We got to do this. Brainstorm idea. We have. Remember the movie idea about how to do a quantum movie?
Mm-hmm.
10 scenes, 10 minutes each, right? So what we could do is have 10 potential opening sequence lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're only chosen as the show starts. So as soon as it starts, it reads those, and after it reads the first one, it reads the second one. So each time it's going to be a little bit different. And I believe over time, a you would get a mean. You would have a like a distribution in there of which
Mm-hmm.
one's the more common one that shows up. Uh, anyway, that would be fun. You could do it with less than 10. You could do it two or three
Yeah.
too. So what I mean by that is just like this is like 5 different sentences. You could have 5 different files, and then instead of just reading the same sequence every time, it takes a different sequence.
Hmm.
But it's describing kind of what it is.
Welcome to Scream for Peace, where spontaneous creativity rapidly enhances.
There it is. I heard it start again.
For people involved as consciousness expands. We are broadcasting from the Hypercube Algorithmic Language Oracle. Your pilot is Captain Madrid, and your first officer is Dr. Caputi. Hold on as we chill the frack out and take a digital trip.
Chill the frack out.
Guided by the principal laws of
that's great.
motion and spatial relativity. Be sure to gaze into the ether spirit.
There was a modulation in the drone sound. And, we have another video on this channel that goes over where I talk about exactly um, how the methodology behind the different music and what I put into it. And yeah.
So, so we're collecting actually two different data streams on a computer that is nearly as powerful as the combined computing power of the existing GCP, Global Consciousness Project.
Sorry, I don't know them.
Yeah, that's about right.
That was
Because
Alexa. Alexa, say hello. Or I'm sorry, it's computer. Computer, say hello.
Hi.
So we have a Amazon Alexa in the room, but it's under computer. So when we say computer, we're not talking about Halo. When we say computer, we might ask the computer something. Computer, what's the square root of pi?
The square root of pi is approximately 1.7725.
That's coming from Amazon, not Halo.
right.
But if you hear a word just like randomly come out, flabbergast, that's probably Halo.
Good for the audience to know that for sure.
I'll turn the stab a little bit. So it's the election time. Okay, we're collecting data. I'm going to switch back over to viewing. I'm going to share the screen.
Okay.
Is it on it?
Yep.
Okay, so it's election day, and what were we talking about right before we started this? I think in relation to consciousness, this show, Screen for Peace, is an acronym, and it's in the opening sequence that we just played, but it's spontaneous creativity rapidly enhances ethospheric modulation. That's like a sciencey way of saying you get excited, your energy increases. Spontaneity.
Yeah.
It's hard to plan excitement.
Very hard.
Yeah, but when it happens spontaneously, it can be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned in art that spontaneity was a key ingredient to like great works of art. Even methodical, seemingly methodical work that on its surface, when you figure out how it's done, like stone lithography, you wouldn't think that takes a lot of spontaneity because we're talking about 100-pound slabs of rock,
Mm-hmm.
toning them smooth, working with the whole team, pressing different papers, different colors. Very intricate.
Right.
But there is a spontaneity that occurs throughout the whole process, even just to get started with it. And so that kind of describes the effect, I think, of when we first started. We actually used Edvard Munch's The Scream, The Shriek,
Mm-hmm.
as can they see me, or is they see just the screen, or is it all three of us?
It's all three of us, but the screen is the dominant.
Okay. So I lost my train of thought.
You're talking about the monk.
Pardon me?
You're just talking about a monk or something.
Oh, I gotta turn this. Yeah, the onboard sound for this is a little, I think, loud. I'm gonna try to. It can be a little distracting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna switch over. To the surround sound. Can you hear me?
I can, yep.
Okay, I can hear you, but the data seems to be running on the Halo Oracle, on the Oracle, and but I don't hear. Maybe I gotta check that. The meditation music looks like it's still running, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop it and restart it
Okay.
just to see if it.
Do you
So
want
it
to
stopped and
share?
restarted. I don't know if I can do that. So it's collecting data, but I can't hear it.
Yeah, I don't hear it either. But we heard it
So
before.
for now, what's that?
We heard it before, so they know what it sounds
Yeah,
like.
so now I kind of want to keep it there because we're collecting the data. So this is actually kind of cool because we'll be able to compare this data from the global consciousness data all day,
Yeah.
right? So like right now we're actually conducting a consciousness experiment, which brings up kind of a pet peeve I have in the world. It's people who call themselves consciousness researchers and have never conducted an experiment. So from the academic side, do you believe that experimentation is a necessity? Is that like a predetermining factor of being a researcher, or is there a qualifying uh, statement on research, like academic researcher? If somebody says they're an academic researcher, I don't assume they've done a lot of or any field experiments. They're
Mm-hmm.
doing paperwork,
Right.
knowledge, or their exposure to it is like visiting somebody else's lab.
Yeah. I mean that's very true, and that's a very good point. It's really important to do your own experiments and track them carefully. As we've been doing. Um, I ran
Informal
my already.
question. Informal question. Among all the consciousness people who say that they're consciousness, since you got into this consciousness research gig a number of years ago, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Wow. Spotify's not working either.
Mm.
So no sound is coming, but the microphone is. That's interesting. So
Yeah.
I got no music. I got no sound here at all for now. I suppose I could turn on my Bluetooth in the stereo. That's an option. So the informal question was, of everybody that you cross past this, that consider themselves consciousness researchers, in comparison to, let's say, Dean Radin, the number, let's say if Dean Radin in the consciousness world, from the parapsychology world, that if you had X equals everybody that has done experiments,
Mm-hmm.
Y equals Dean, who considers himself the leading researcher who's done the most experiments, blah blah blah, as the maximum level. Like he would be considered the high level. At what level would you consider the average person that you've crossed paths with in the number of experiments they've done? So let's on a 1 to 100 scale. Well, Dean was 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like that's 100%. Dean was like, so if somebody was at Dean's level, it would be 100. But if somebody maybe had never done an experiment, they would be like a 1. And
Okay,
but
I think I get what you're asking.
if they've done a ton of experiments, but they're not at Dean's level or Roger's level, they might be you know 50%,
Right.
right?
Uh, the average person who considers themselves a consciousness researcher.
That would include people like Mark Guber.
Right. Yeah, he considers
So he
himself
would
a
be a 1.
researcher.
He would be a 1.
Yeah, right. He has not done experiments. It's hard to say because usually I connect with people who have done experiments, but I would say maybe
Okay. And uh, now, if you throw me into the mix and us into the mix,
Mm-hmm.
as far as number and quality of the experiments compared to everybody else, including Dean, and taking into a fact that our experiments include generally 22 activated running RNGs, which we call NEDs, non-random event detectors.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you put us on that scale?
Yeah, that's hard to say. Let me
I would
think.
put us at 150%.
150. Well, I think what we're doing is certainly innovative, beyond anything that Ions has done that I've seen. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair assessment. Um, if you're just looking at numbers of experiments, yeah, we've done so
Well,
many that.
I would say, okay, let me just qualify that a little bit. Not just numbers of experiments, but numbers of experiments that led to something that actually are of merit. So, for example, if somebody's, guessing one of five cards behind a
Mhm.
door and they do that 4 million times, that's one experiment,
Right.
right? If somebody, uh, SB just jumped up.
Aw.
If somebody adds another experiment where it's the dice or looking at photographs to see if their skin response
Mhm.
shows a bigger level, either violent or provocative photos versus like nature scenes. Uh, that would be like one type of experiment, but they're all leading to the same thing, right? And sometimes I want to ask, well, what's the application behind that experiment?
Right.
Show me one application, right? So,
They haven't really led to innovations, and they're centered around trying to prove a point. You know, and
right,
this is
right.
kind of the recommendation that I get sometimes, from people saying, what I really should be doing is pre-registering all our experiments. And the thing is, that philosophy, I understand it. You know, we were talking before about understanding all sides of an argument, but that philosophy assumes two things. A, that we should still be trying to prove that psychics are real, whatever that means. And
I am
B,
not a psychic freak.
right, I know, I'm not either. But that's the assumption. That's assumption
Right.
A when they say pre-register your studies. A is that we should be trying to prove that. B is that there's still a chance of convincing the rest of mainstream science about point A, which we're not doing
We're not
either.
doing that either.
Right. We're not doing
Right.
either. So that doesn't apply to what we're doing.
Correct.
So,
I would say moreover that you and I have kind of inadvertently, but inadvertently, I mean, if you look at it, we were this was both of our stated objectives was to find that gap and bridge it.
yes.
But we did it in a way that is not, because I believe everything that we're doing is pragmatic science.
Yes.
No woo, no magic, no faith, no belief required.
Right.
Right.
It still
And
works with that, though.
it works better with that. Right. That's what I'm saying. So
Yes.
that's the bridge. It works
Yes.
both ways.
My
So
cat wants to
what
touch
we've
you.
done though is we've created that bridge that everybody else thought needed to be a superhighway,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. And the bridge is this. This is the bridge. So instead of a bridge being a structure, it
Mm-hmm.
was an environment,
Yeah.
and this is a bridge. And so I think it really would help if we had other people actually did their rooms like this and plugged in with us.
Definitely.
And because we're collecting a boatload of data right now,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be a lot more if we wanted it to be.
Yep. We're collecting it in ways that hasn't been done in any of the other experiments.
Right, and so we threaten them, and so I look at modern day society, like for example, if I was to ask you, hey, tell me about the history of the Roman Empire, but make it quick and condense it down to a couple of sentences. I've only got a few minutes. I got to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a difficult task to do, right?
I would say, why didn't you pay attention in school?
They didn't teach that.
Oh, they didn't.
Not the full. I mean, it's a vast and wide read.
Oh,
Unless
I'm
you're in
sure.
college,
Yeah.
going to majoring in that of some way, you're never going to get a complete history.
Well, they.
And Rome was very different during its final decades than it was at its peak and at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if you look at society, where are we now? Every society eventually fails,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you looked at the history of America and were to project when let's just not even say failure. Let's just say transitioning into something else, hopefully bigger and better,
Yeah.
right? That's the nature of evolution. That's the one thing we can count on is change.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do a little reading. Now, I did say I'm absolutely not woo-woo, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of our stuff is based in pragmatic science. But what I have in my hand right now is a tarot card deck
Nice.
of the vampires. So I'm going to do a little cut right now. So I'm just going to cut it.
Okay.
And I cut to strength. It's the strength card. And I think these types of card decks and things like the game of chess, the game of Monopoly, they're very much in the same field in that they let you analyze different parts of reality from a systemic manner
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes playfully in a storytelling way.
Right.
Hold on, I gotta close it.
The word boomer came up.
Did it?
Yep. Possession. Anti-institutional. Ooh.
So that's not coming up for the sound, but it is, I guess,
Right.
updating so we can see it. What's cool about this too is you can basically hear a wave of consciousness sweep over Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And the audio thing comes up because sometimes, particularly if you're watching a video or in the middle of a conversation or something, you'll see something anti-institutional. What am I just talking about? What have we just been talking about? I don't like the word anti, but with the election going on, I am pro-truth, and I don't see a whole lot of truth coming out of any
Yeah.
thing. And I put Biden and Harris supporters in the same camp as Trump and whoever's with Trump supporters.
Deep Trump supporters. Yeah.
Yeah, because they just need to pick a side. You know, these are the same people that they'll get in a fight if you diss their team.
Yep. That's true.
And so with all this stuff going on, I don't know if it's. I mean, I find it all theater, for one thing, in that I would say that history took a left turn in 1913, and we've sort of been morphing into opposite land.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not different than any other society throughout history. It's very similar to the Roman Empire.
Right.
But back to my question to you, where do you see us in the realm of history of America? Would you put us in the quarter, half, three quarters, or close to 100%?
Definitely 3/4. Maybe closer to 100%, depending on how the rest of this year goes.
Right.
But we'll see.
How the next 72 hours go.
Yeah. This is going to be a very exciting night, and I'm excited, you know? even if it is a lot theater, it's still
It's
relevant
theater.
because
It's theater. It's the greatest theater.
and it's gonna affect it's the whole current state of consciousness for the world being reflected in what we're gonna see happen unfold over the next 12 hours or so. And yeah, that said, my eyes are probably going to become increasingly glued to that. So, was there anything else we wanted to talk about on this stream?
Yeah, I thought we would just talk about everything.
Okay.
And what have you? What I envision is just doing a live update, and you could give us updates. I got my other screen here
Mm-hmm.
going on, and so we could look at the field and look at what's going on out there if you want,
Sure.
and just continue the conversation about here and what's going on with Halo as we conduct the experiment. I'm pretty excited to have this go live, share it with the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me
And
too.
if we're actually online where we see stuff come up, I think that's even pretty cool. So there's a concept though at play, Milan, where somebody would look at this. Hold on. Oops. I'm bringing up my other computer.
Yeah, me too. Well, I know the polls are closing in the on the East Coast, so this is when shit starts to get real.
Well, I saw one little quick post headline that it was a tweet that people were going to polling stations and told that the machines were down. Please just drop your ballots in this box, and we'll scan them later when the machines come up.
Hmm.
Have you seen that one?
No, where was that?
I have no idea. It was a headline off of a Twitter feed, and it was a YouTube video, something about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine if it hasn't happened already, there's definitely going to be lots of accusations of voter fraud from both sides against both sides.
That's inevitable.
And so I don't see this rolling out without. Now, just pragmatically speaking, from the sidelines, you look at what was going on, and just in sheer enthusiasm,
Mm-hmm.
you see thousands and tens of thousands of people showing up at Trump rallies, and they don't even say Biden's. They don't even call him rallies.
Right.
He's like at all.
Well,
And so, but if you just go by sheer enthusiasm and things like that, one would anticipate a. My call from the beginning was that Trump is going to just win the Electoral College,
mm-hmm.
and that he will lose the popular vote, and there's going to be so much controversy over the actual winner or over the final count that nobody's going to believe either side.
Right.
So the next 4 years is going to be just like what was it in impeaching him and all this politics. And I think keeping people off really the keeping them focused on the present, the past, is keeping people from seeing the future. Like if you were to ask somebody, to describe the future that they want to see, very few would actually have an answer. Most people would just say anything's better than this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I just completely forgot about that. Damn it! I was offered the guy who did the Zeitgeist movies.
Mm-hmm.
Just came out or is coming out with a new movie, and a buddy of mine was one of the early donors and shared with me the link, and I forgot to watch it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the things the Zeitgeist movies and it's called the Venus Project discusses is a future based on resource, not allocation, but what do they call it? Not just in time, but it's just like resource allocation by process rather than a for-profit version of just giving people whatever they want whenever they want it.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of that is immense. And so that's what, in one of the ways, gives us a false economy. And so if I look at things from the economic perspective, like what democracy is about, it's almost just arguing about different levels of subservience without necessarily even putting in true freedom into the equation.
Right.
And anti-vaccine just came up, or I just saw it. I don't know if it just came up, but
It
something
did.
just
Yep, it's
changed.
up there.
Nice.
So,
Unsolvable. I'm talking about unsolvable problem. Oakland.
oh my God. Was
Oakland
Oakland?
came up.
Oh wow.
Wow. Okay, I'll just
Floridians.
change.
Florida results are coming in right now.
Wow. Nice. Stress.
There's like 10 relevant words that came up at once.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is why I wanted to stay on.
Yep.
That is cool as heck.
Absolutely.
And we are broadcasting live, right, on YouTube?
We are live, yep.
Okay. I wouldn't imagine. I kind of want to just make this as a historical record, just in case I'm right about anything.
Just in case you're right.
Or
Yeah.
wrong. I like being wrong.
Well,
Because I think my wrongs, there's a difference between, what is this? I can't remember what it is. Like, there's a difference between being wrong and being not right. Like,
yeah.
like you can make a rational argument about something and come to reasonable conclusions, but because you didn't have enough data, your conclusions were wrong.
Right.
Right? There's a difference between that and just having an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking a wild guess at something and just thinking, well, who needs reason and logic when I can just have an opinion? And I can just believe whatever I want to believe.
That's what a lot of people think.
Yeah. Oh, we just got another change. So what happened? MCVIE. If that E wasn't there, that would look like a Roman numeral. Wow.
Progressivism.
Yeah. So imagine when we get a whole bunch of words running through this. It'll be interesting to see how the distribution, types of words, when it came up. But in a way, what we're doing right now, there's underlying sound. I think if I turned off the
Wait a minute,
Bluetooth.
29. What state has 29 electoral college votes? Oh my God, Florida has 29.
No way!
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm like, is that a reference to Florida?
Wow. Reset. We're in the great reset right now. So if somebody was listening live, this is not a concept I think everybody's going to get right off the bat, but it's in relation to people will say this. Well, how could we be having an effect if we're at a distance? Like, for example, you're where you're at, and the effect you're having on here. What do you think? What do you think the difference is between the effect you're having on AIM, considering you've been here many times, and the considering I've had on AIM, and that you're virtual?
Um, I would say that I'm still entangled to it in many ways. So it would be a slight difference, but I really don't know. What do you think?
Ballpark it. You think it'd be 80-20, 90-10,
80-20.
99-1?
I like 80-20.
Huh?
I like 80-20.
80-20? I think it's going to be some kind of constant like that. I could even see it being, in some circumstances, like pi level.
Pi.
That small, like your effect would be. So the depending on intention, I think, it could not, the distance might not be a huge thing. And so one of the concepts we'll be publishing about falls under the, I think, title of retrocausation, and that's how signals can pass. Counterflow is also a way to describe it. Flow through counterflow, and you see a lot of that in weather. Like a thermocline is that, right? You get, like, you could have counterflow water.
Well, yeah, you need continuity. The continuity equation talks about especially. I mean, you have in a hurricane inflow at low levels, outflow at high levels. In a mountain valley circulation, you have up valley winds during the day, down valley at night, and even during the day, you get a compensating subsidence. So, yes, that concept is everywhere.
And that's kind of how entanglement works. And so if people understand retrocausation in relation to, here's another way to think about it. The notion of time, and like if you take an action, x equals now, right? And you say, what are all the things that led up to that?
Right.
Let's just say, did you leave the house today?
No.
No, not yet. Okay, imagine the last time you left your house, you left your place, and you found yourself standing on a street corner for whatever reason, crossing the street, going someplace. You're on a street corner and there's traffic going here. How many things led up to that moment?
Lots
of things. And let's just say you had to say, okay, what are your two primary things that led up to that moment? Well, I woke up and then I needed to get here. Those would be the two things. And then if you broke that down and say, for each of those things, name 4 things that led to that. And for each of those 4 things, name 2 things that led to that, and so on. You would have a huge sort of matrix of causation that led to you just sitting at the corner.
Yeah.
Right? And if you were to take each one of those steps backwards, just one of those paths, to something like opening a paper while you're still at home, and that paper mentions something about a street corner, it would be easy to make a argument to how in the notion of retrocausation, you experience something at one moment, but that moment of, let's say, flashback clarity, you instantly remember, oh, I was just reading about a street corner, and now I find myself on one. And so when did you actually find yourself on that street corner, or when did the process start? If you did see the word street corner randomly on the paper, and you had an option between walking down an alley to get to where you wanted or walking towards a street corner, just seeing that earlier in that day might influence you to walk towards the corner.
Yeah.
Or conversely, if the article that you read was about a horrible traffic accident at a corner that was just like this, that might make you to go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And so where the non-experimentalist physicist would almost use that as an argument that at that moment when that decision was made, the universe split into two.
Right.
And both
Multiple
things happen
worlds.
simultaneously. You can only just remember the one where you went.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of just like one of the, I think, it's almost like you told me a good story the other day where somebody called the scientist on their bullshit or philosopher or whatever and said, well, that's a cop-out question. That's a cop-out answer. That's not an answer. And they're just like, yes, my child. And they just move on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think that's pretty prevalent throughout everywhere.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, there's kind of this insatiable desire to understand everything about the world that we scientists and philosophers have, and it's like when you can't explain something, you gotta fit the data somehow with some explanation. Way the turbo net is spiking, showing a z-score up to 4.5, and
Wow.
we saw the word self-propagating a minute ago. Wanted to
No way.
Yeah.
So why is that relevant to us? Self-propagating feedback loops.
Right.
That's our everything.
Self-propagating feedbacks. Yep, and you were just talking about that effect in the context of decisions leading to other decisions leading to where you are.
And what self-propagates it? Life force.
Mm-hmm.
It's our ongoing heartbeat. And our just life. Now, what augments our life force is our quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so you take somebody that would describe themselves as leading a happy, perfect life. Would you think that they have a bigger life force than somebody who lives a life of struggle and sorrow?
I don't know.
What would be the typical perspective?
That it would be different.
It would be different. Which would be stronger?
The one
more
leading
powerful?
with more emotional charge, I would think.
So I would say but this is what might be wrong with the consciousness world is a lot of people strive for happiness. And they look at happiness as a right.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't understand like the words, but it's a different time now. The words, the freedom to pursue happiness, right? That's in our Declaration of Independence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I get that mixed up?
I believe that's right.
The freedom to pursue happiness, life, liberty, and pursue. So that's different than than pursuing happiness is different than achieving happiness or being happy.
Yeah.
Because somebody could for in my experience, the journey has to be happy. If you're not happy along the way, the destination is not going to be happy either.
Right.
And so a lot of the consciousness community, they strive in the good vibes category. In the Venn chart, if you had good vibes and bad vibes, they'd be into only the good vibes. That centerpiece where they overlap wouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And where does progress come from?
Struggle.
It doesn't come from ease and luxury, right?
Comes from trying to solve problems.
Trying to solve problems.
Yeah. And the problems have to exist in order for innovation to be sparked.
Right.
Which is one way to think of it.
Do you know about the I think he's a Brazilian aviator who lived in France, and his name was Maza or something, I don't know, Carlos. he had his Brazilian name, spoke Spanish and French, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and was one of the early innovators. Came from a family with a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, filed lots of really interesting designs in regards to flight. And at no point, I think he was interested in it. He wanted to solve. He was more of a humanitarian and wanted to contribute what became the car for the air. He wanted, and he did achieve it during his lifetime to some extent. And what his inventions never really took on, and then he was pretty much eclipsed when the Wright brothers achieved mastery of the air.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the innovations that he brought are still being realized today in some of the things that he did in various aspects of the world, including just the electric car, really.
Mm-hmm.
But he was not propelled or limited by the academic world. By, like, to my knowledge, he didn't like request permission from peer review community to try a new idea.
Right.
Right? He had the luxury of being able to fund his own stuff and making it. He worked until, I mean, he took his life into his own hands many, many times, and every time he took the air, you're risking your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many flights have you been on in your entire life?
Few hundred, probably.
Wow.
If you count everything from small planes to commercial flights, or are you just talking about research flights?
Everything.
Oh yeah, few hundred for sure.
Wow.
So, Donald Trump leading in Florida by a small margin.
I do not believe those polls.
No, these aren't polls. These are results.
I don't believe the results either until it gets to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many times, or maybe you know this, I don't know this. How many times has something like that at the end been completely the opposite? So and so is leading all night long, but at the end, whoops, it was the
It
other
can
person.
be, yeah, yeah. Something
That happens
else.
all the time, right?
What?
That happens all the time.
It can, yeah, yeah. I mean, polls are forecasts; they can be wrong. Even results, some of them come from exit polls, I believe, when they make the calls. And yeah, so one of the interesting, something I actually wanted to say on the record is, we were talking before about people at the top, and
Hold on. There's a word here. Computer. Define anthropocentric.
The adjective anthropocentric is usually defined as regarding the human being as the central fact of the universe. For more, ask me to give you more definitions for anthropocentric.
Holy shit. So, did you see that?
I did.
Anthropocentric. So, anthromemoration has two components. This ties me back to the actual beginning of the conversation when we first started, which I never came to, and that is how to describe the model.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just say spatial relativity, that doesn't describe it. If you just describe anthromemoration, that's not. But what this really is the hive mind model
Mm-hmm.
of consciousness. If we call it that, people will understand that in a sense of understanding. Oh, it's a hive mind, but the spatial relativity kind of shows how it localizes. Anthropocentric would describe the individual experience as being the center of that universe, whereas the when you look at it as groups of people, like what's up here in these posters, that would describe kind of the opposite. That would be anthromemoration. Anthropocentric would be the individual experience of consciousness. Anthromemoration would be the collective.
Right.
So thank you, Halo, for giving us a word. So see, Halo's already contributing to her own dissertation.
Nice.
Isn't that cool?
Really is. Yeah, we're gonna get a whole bunch of that coming.
And that actually came up when we were either before either during or just after that huge spike.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 4. What does that mean? Okay, transcribe what 4, a little bit more than 4 is probably a 4 point. That tall spike is probably, let's just call it a 4.25, 4 and a
That's
quarter.
about 4.5.
4.5.
So
Okay.
yeah,
What does that
Z-score.
mean?
What does that mean?
Describe that to the audience.
Sure.
What's the relevance of that? And the other one goes up to about, let's say, 2.5 at about the same time.
Right. Well, a Z-score of 4.5 is about, going off memory here, something like 1 in 10,000. I'm trying to get it exactly.
I've got a chart here. So what was it? 4.5?
4.5, yeah.
So 4.46 is 1 in 250,000.
Wow. Really?
Yes. Can you see that?
No, but I believe you. That sounds about right.
This is the conversion chart out of the Mind Lamp handbook.
Yeah.
So that is very significant.
Yeah, so on average, because this is a 1 minute average we're looking at, we would see that once in every 250,000 minutes, a score that high, which is, what is that in days? Let's see. Divided by number of minutes in a day.
I'm going to step off camera.
Twice a year. We would see that.
I can hear you, but I'm stepping off camera for a second.
Okay. Well, I'll keep describing it. We would see that kind of spike about twice a year from doing this math right. Of course, we're doing this on the fly. This isn't a final analysis, but that is.
You know what's cool?
What it looks like. Yeah.
It's all filed. All of this is going to a file, so it's going to be really easy for us to go back and look at this and see which words came up during these peaks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's the language.
Yeah.
You know, I see. And the fact that we are actually going to use that word, that perfectly describes what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think. Can you hear me okay? Because I'm standing about 6 feet away from the mic.
I can. York/New. New York. So,
go ahead.
Something I wanted to say was that I've been thinking about, the nature of, and I know this is a loaded term, but the word conspiracy theories, and how there are a lot of them in the consciousness community, and I try to be fair. Like, I don't identify as a conspiracy theorist. I'm usually not sympathetic to things that sound way out there, but I try to be fair and listen to evidence on all sides and
define
facts.
Conspiracy theory in your own terms.
Well, isn't it true that word was stigmatized intentionally?
That phrase, from what I understand, the phrase conspiracy theorist was first propagated by the CIA to use it to label people who disagreed with the JFK assassination story.
Right.
And because they were going into all types of variables, pointing out everything that was inconsistent or wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's for what I understand. That's the popular understanding of where that phrase came from.
Right. I wouldn't not believe that. That sounds legit, and that's why I think that the term conspiracy theorist is a loaded term. Right. That said, a lot of people have it as an identity. You know what I mean? It's like they fit in with the conspiracy theorists who, question everything. And, one of the...
Okay, let me back up. What is the technical definition of conspiracy in theory? If you just put those two words together and take out the popular interpretation of it, what would it be? Because to me, a conspiracy is two or more people
Mm-hmm.
doing unethical shit together.
Right.
And they're hiding it from somebody.
Right.
It includes lies and deception and some form of profit or gain that goes beyond fair play.
Right.
So that's a conspiracy. A theory is what?
A theory is well, in popular terms, it's a hypothesis. In the scientific world, it's actually the best model that explains the current observations. So,
I would not completely agree with that. Everything you said was right, but there's another version of theory when people think that it's neither a hypothesis
mm-hmm.
or a systemic understanding of something, but rather it's an educated guess or a lucky guess.
Right. Like, I
It's
have a
what they
theory.
believe. Huh?
Like, I have a theory, that kind of thing.
Like, I have a theory. That means I have an uneducated guess, right? Based on something. But when I say theory, I'm thinking of systemic theory. That it's something like there's a valve to turn or a test to take or something there. Right?
Yeah.
A hypothesis are statements that support the theory.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the testability, a lot of people, so you can have an hypothesis without a theory if you can't test it. If you can't test it in some way or interface with it, if it's anything more than just words on a paper, then that is pure hypothesizing.
Well, yeah, then you have a
speculative
untestable,
hypothesis.
Yeah.
Pure speculation.
Yeah.
And so in our work, I would say, like any assumptions or speculations that occur, because if you think anything out to its nth degree, you're going to get a lot of those, right?
Right.
But I would say that all of our stuff is so pragmatic that any speculations are there. It's all based upon very solid information that would lead us to that. There's data and experiences that would lead us to those assumptions.
Yes.
And just the object of not being a fucking douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
So some people that just want to argue, they're just going to argue, well, you really never know, because you can always guess, blah, 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 blah.
There's still a chance.
There's still a chance.
This data spike here, 1 in 250,000, that'll only occur by chance twice a year. Still a chance. It could be coincidental.
Still a chance. Yep.
So ignore it.
Zombie-like.
It's meaningless.
New York new.
Yes. Let me see. Has New York been called? New York has not been called. As a matter of fact, we're going to try this again. I'm going to turn off the Bluetooth, and we're going to try to incorporate this. And I'm just going to, if the hold on. If the sound is too much, I'm just going to turn it off. Yeah.
This might turn it off. Hope I didn't kill it. Okay. Nothing's working. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, I can hear you coming over the TV or the monitor.
I'll be right back.
I guess we're on a little break.
Air is connected.
Let's turn that off. Bluetooth is off. How is that connected? Turn that in. I'm trying to turn on start playing with these sound. But on the board, we actually have 3 GPUs, and the 7.1 surround sound is built into the motherboard.
Oh, nice. We got the music there. Recording data. Trump projected to win Arkansas. In other news, water is wet. .69% reporting Joe Biden is ahead in North Carolina by about 6 points. Florida, Trump is ahead by...
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, all of my sound went out. I haven't been able to hear anything for like the last couple of minutes.
Oh.
And so I'm going through. Everything seems to be up. The Oracle's still running. Oh no, the Oracle crashed. Just crashed. Okay. This is one of the things I'm glad you're hosting it, because these changes could totally mess stuff up.
It definitely could.
Yeah. Okay, so we got that input. Okay, seems like everything's running now, so I'm going to start it again. How did you like that speed?
That was good.
This is 1.234, so I'm going to go ahead and start that again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1, blast off.
All right.
So Halo's about
Welcome to Scream for Peace, where spontaneous creativity rapidly enhances ether-spirit modulation for people evolve as consciousness expands. We are broadcasting from the Hypercube Algorithmic Language Oracle. Your pilot is Captain Madrid and your first officer is Dr. Caputi.
That's me, everybody.
Chill the frack out and take a digital trip through the inner space travel station, guided by the principal laws of anthromemoration and spatial relativity. Be sure to gaze into the ether spirit modulator for a consciousness expanding experience.
Sounds legit.
cool. I'm excited every time I hear that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna do a 3-card tarot reading on the election.
Okay.
Right, and so this is not fortune telling. This is not psychic phenomena or guessing. And how I look at this is there are structures to life, patterns in life, and when you pull a card, it just allows you to take one perspective from a particular perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a matrix of thought of your whole past, because different cards mean different things to different people. And so one that I like to do, and it's kind of like a form of meditation, you can call it that, and that is the past, present, and future. And so I'm going to go ahead and split the cards into 3. And we have the Temptress, right? Yes, the Temptress, inverted. Present, the 3 of Pentacles, also inverted.
Do you want to stop your screen share so we can see better?
No.
Okay.
I can...
Rise and triumphs telemetry calico brabantio deserve argin mala testa.
Wow.
Midmorning.
Oh, I'm sorry. You meant the screen share for this. Hold on, let me do that.
Yeah, because you're showing...
I misunderstood you. Sorry. I forgot that stopped.
Oh, no worries.
Uh,
Yeah, I can still see Halo screen on.
oh, you can.
Yeah.
What? So you can still see mine though for these cards, right?
Yeah, you know what? Let me do this. Actually, you're good now. I was able to switch the view over here, so I can see that. So go ahead,
Okay.
walk us through the tarot reading.
Temptress, Three of Pentacles, and the Moon. All right, let me go get the deck card. Can't you do sound from where you are?
Me?
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't want to overcomplicate this and risk there being echoes. But...
Anyone happen to have a fried peanut butter and chicken sandwich? Peanut butter, jelly, and chicken. All right. So here's the book. This is the Vampire Tarot, written and illustrated by Natalie Hertz. So one of the ideas about Halo that we've discussed is something like this, to where you could actually create an online tarot, right, where there would actually be some pragmatic science behind the selecting of the cards, in the sense that they would be responding to NED data. Right. So instead of words coming up, a card would come up.
Yeah.
And so this is much like regular playing cards. There's different suits, and then a gradation and value, and then a story behind each one. So Temperance is one of the major arcana cards. That's like the higher cards, I guess you could be conceptual cards. And they're not valued one above the other as like a sequence. They're just numbered for, I believe, ease of use, checking them. Whereas the others, there's a definite, like an ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right.
So you have, that's the lower arcana. These are the higher arcana, where it's like all royalty cards. And then Temperance is 14. And so keep in mind that we're doing this about the election.
Yes.
Right? So you take this and you're like, okay, let's put on our science and analyst hat on and look at the past through this card. So Temperance reads, this Batwoman with an intent gaze. I'm going to hold it. Just like that looks like a halo, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. You have the light on.
Or if you put it up above the head. Okay, Temperance. This Batwoman with an intent gaze harmonizes with the environment by moderating blood flow, a vital fluid energy source and life component. Blood follows a slow but regulated course of regeneration and healing. And this is reverse. So we're talking about blood, regeneration, and healing, and in the past. Unfocused thought, lack of modesty, incomprehension, instability, and lack of communication. What do those words mean to you in regards to the national triumph? Triumphs just came up. Or is up. I'm not. Well, I guess everything just came up. But that screen is shared to you?
Yes. Yeah, I can
Okay.
I can switch between the two actually. Yeah, triumphs. I see that. What does that mean to me?
Yeah, what do those words mean to you
Uh,
in relation to the larger, like the international scene? So, like, if I hear this is the temptress, blood sucking,
mm-hmm.
uh, regeneration, healing, and if I think of unfocused thought, lack of modesty, incomprehension, instability, lack of communication, to me, this is Hillary Clinton. Or the perception of Hillary Clinton in the
Right.
international stream from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the reverse meaning, which means, yeah, what I just said, unfocused thought, lack of modesty. And so that would be an easy representation of how did that affect today. So what does this is one of the most general things. Yesterday when I was paying attention to stuff, a bunch of stuff that came over, I saw people saying, well, I don't believe the polls because they were so wrong about her.
Yeah.
And so, like, people just look at it today. It's like the polls are going to say whatever you want them to say. They got to, and this is one of my thing about people they need to maintain the illusion of democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is with the vote. And then I mean, if once you get, let's just say above 40, you've been alive through 10 presidential cycles. And how different really are they?
Not very.
Not very different. And at the end of the day, it's rich people talking to rich people about rich people things and just giving everybody else whatever.
Breadcrumbs. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, how illogical would it be to design a system that's up for grabs every 4 years? And the most powerful person on the earth switches hands every 4 years based on, I mean, if that was really the case, your vote would really mean something.
Yeah.
But how often does a vote really result in like radical systemic change? Other than war, nobody votes for that.
Right.
If people had to vote for war, and it meant if they voted yes, they'd be on the draft list, nobody would vote for war.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say nobody. There'd be very few people that weren't already in the military voting for war.
Right.
And there would be a lot of people in the military on both sides.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of them don't want war. Going off on I just want to do a tiny tangent here about polling, and this kind of ties into what I was saying before. But yeah, so like I'm hearing that a lot is I don't believe the polls because they were wrong in 2016. Well, the polls would have to be twice as wrong this year as they were in 2016 in order for Trump to win, basically. And so...
Or another concept is they're always wrong, and they've always been wrong because the system itself is designed to be flawed.
Right. So, if that's true, and if you're right, and if Trump wins, I think I'm going to become a lot more sympathetic to conspiracy theorists. And I wanted to get that on the record and say that ahead of time, because this way it's always good to say, if this happens, then I'm going to believe this. If it, to do that ahead of time, that's a way to keep yourself in check and make sure you're not subject to confirmation bias. So one of the things that QAnons say...
OPD, Oakland Police Department.
Oh, wow. That's there?
Yep. Just came up. B team.
OPD. Oh, I see.
See, in politics, that's kind of what I see it when you vote. You got the A team, you got the B team, and they just switch places every 8 years pretty much. But the same people are in charge, and I am not anti that. See, here's where a lot of conspiracy theorists will go on and be like, those horrible people, blah, 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 blah. Like, they don't know what those people are dealing with every day, and I don't hear any argument for why they're doing it. It's just like, oh, they're evil, they're greedy, they're blah, 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 and without really doing a thorough analysis on the bigger picture.
Right.
Like, they could do better. you know.
Well, yeah,
And
I agree. You have to propose a solution if you want to change it. It's not enough to just say, "Hey, I don't like the system the way it is." It's like, okay, what's your solution? Let's hear it. It's got to anything has to be system has to be replaced with something else. So
which
yeah,
is why I'm an advocate of transhumanism.
yes,
That looks good, doesn't it?
absolutely,
Yeah, I like that setup.
yeah,
Triumphs. Wow. Reputations. Mid morning.
mm-hmm.
Nugent.
Bina.
Yeah.
Ceylon. Non-starter timetables crispy egg old must Luckhurst adolescence mod.
I think
Shockwave.
Timetables. Egg old. Shockwave. That shockwave is definitely
crispy. Oh, that's making me hungry. Shockwave.
Sinking.
Yeah, I'm hungry too.
Soleimani. Fallacy.
Fallacy.
I know somebody named Soleimani.
I do too.
Is that the guy that got killed?
Uh,
Or like a targeted kill? Wasn't he also?
I don't know.
Soleimani, I know, was a print dealer.
Okay.
And I think it was actually he dropped the I and just went Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
Having a 4 plus p-value is pretty significant, I think. Okay, we didn't get to the present one. So I would say like that to me that's the biggest presence of this card in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And
associates.
Okay, so the present, which would be today. Polarizing. Wow.
Whoa, polarizing.
Whoa.
Reruns.
Polarizing reruns. That's a great way to describe what I just described. The last 10 elections, have been exactly that. They have to create this polarization because the people down there, you cannot. The people that are being polarized, they're going to be polarized by something either way. They're generally not going to be the architects and the builders of the new tomorrow.
Right.
They're much more malleable within the spheres of influence, entertainment, arts, culture, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens to a society if absolutely everybody is, let's call it, woke and enlightened?
If everybody is woke and enlightened, well, there still would be conflict. I mean, you can kind of see that the far left kind of has a circular firing squad of its own. So I think there would still be conflict.
Definitely. But who would want to do all the work and get in how if you have a society, you have to have a robust infrastructure and a huge amount of people down there doing all the work, right? Making society go.
Yeah.
And if everybody, I'm not in any way suggesting they shouldn't be enlightened and reach that state. But to me, and this is where I see it going, that's what the hive mind is, those divisions between those worlds of the highly enlightened and the, let's just say, unenlightened, the masses, what you would call the masses, then those things have to merge.
Right.
Right? And there is that more of a flow. So like in let's just say like in my ideal version, let's say we are able to build our building in the museum that we want to build, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was certified to do in the Navy was organizational structure, management, alignment. but it's also with big organizations that are established, which is very different than the startup world where we're at, right? Um, I had a point. I was going someplace with this.
You were talking about the present card.
The present card. Let's go with that, and I'll pick up on that thought in a second.
Okay.
So this card is the Three of Pentacles. So I'm going to read this. This Batwoman. So two women, recipients, accomplishments, or represents accomplishment, fulfillment, and steady results. But it's inverted. And I would say the reverse is humiliation, a lost opportunity, concern, vileness. Who does that represent in the current battle?
Vileness?
Well, I would say just overall, with keeping into account not just present thought, but what I think is going to happen over the next 48 hours. And I would say that's Kamala Harris. Because it's another Batwoman.
Right.
Right? So I'm just saying, like, of all of the people in the arena, she's the only woman.
Yes.
And I'm predicting her loss. And even if she won, oh, she would lose. Because what would happen is, like, Joe Biden is just not capable of his mind. He's not a manager. He's beyond management. He's a spokesperson.
Right.
Right? And so basically, if for some reason the Democratic Party won, Kamala Harris would be in charge. She would be the president.
More or less.
Because they'd be using that 25th Amendment to get Joe out. That's why they're getting in everybody's version if that did happen. But the reality is, from the upper levels, it doesn't matter who wins. They win either way because it's their game.
The and House we have always to play wins.
I'm not again, like, if you think about the mastery of, think about the conspiracy theories for a second. Think about
no kidnappers, Akashic Ordinaries, Aviation, Enfielder, Qua.
Interesting. Leah reacted to that.
I'm literally talking. What did I just say when that came up? I mean, I didn't say the word Akashic, but that's what we're discussing. The Akashic records is kind of like just the information that's out there in the ether sphere. All that information. That's what is what Halo's reading is a form of the Akashic records, or a component of it. So we have a Batwoman. Do you know of any other woman that's high profile? Think of, let's say that's the left. For the right, for the Trump things, it's the blonde girl, the Kellyanne
Conway?
No. What's the current press secretary?
Well, yeah. So I'm gonna Kaylee Mc.
That's her.
Yeah, Kaylee.
She got the virus, miraculously recovered. Nobody got sick. And it's the perfect. It's the perfect duo. It really is for this. So, like, you couldn't literally script this any better.
Yeah.
And so I'd say, like, maybe this card represents both of them, right? But in the sense of Kamala Harris, on the inversion of it, it says humiliation, obviously from the loss, a lost opportunity, concern, and vileness. The vileness will come out with all the accusations about why they lost.
Right.
I mean, and in the idea, I mean, think of the example you set, though. Everybody's saying, not my president. I mean, who's it? They're saying they're using democracy, but while saying, and I'm saying this from both sides, they're using democracy, saying that we need democracy, a better democracy. At the same time, breaking every rule of democracy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not hypocritical.
Popovers.
Honorary.
Violet.
Aviation.
Jerusalem.
Oh, yeah.
Chase Duckworth unevenly Dill Cerberus like Rumionescu acquiesced.
Jay-Z. legume, acquiesce. So, like, when has there ever been a good example in national politics of just like good sportsmanship? Hey, wonderful election. Good job. See you next.
Maybe Obama and McCain on the surface level. No?
I don't even think it's possible with that. I mean, look at all the people that were just like anti him no matter what, pro him no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, people would. There were so many people that accused me not of racism, but they would say, "I'm like, well, I don't support Obama for president because I don't support the notion of a president."
Right.
And they would say that I'm racist for not supporting him.
Well, that's like saying that, oh, I don't like Hillary Clinton because of X, Y, and Z. Oh, you're a sexist.
Right. Exactly.
It's an argument by the establishment to basically shut you up.
Yep.
Is how I would describe that. No legitimate leftist really thinks that you cannot criticize a person of color or a person of, well, I shouldn't say no, but very few people that are actually on the left believe that. That if you don't like a particular person of color or someone of a marginalized identity in charge, and you criticize their policies and their actions, that's actually an attack on their minority oppressed identity, right?
Right.
But that argument will be used when it can, basically saying, yeah, like calling progressives sexist because they didn't like Hillary. Bernie bros. You know, now whether Bernie is part of the system or not, that's a whole nother conversation.
I think, did you ever consider yourself a Bernieite?
A Bernie what?
Because when we first met, you sounded like a Bernieite.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Where's he been through all this?
Around.
Is he still a relative figure?
Not as much.
That's another thing that like bothers me about politics is like when people are out of the limelight, they're like, oh, they're going to retire. It's like all the things that they were passionate about, they're just like no longer issues.
Vacationing.
We're just going to build some house. Everything's fine. Nothing to panic about.
Hey, the word vacationing came up right now.
No way.
Yep.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Just said it too. Wow.
So do you want to get to the future card?
Yes. Okay, so that's what I would say. So if somebody were the fortune teller and the psychic, they would say that this is predicting something.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it's predicting anything. What it does is it gives you a way to analyze a specific area of now.
Right.
And now we're going into predicting. The cards aren't predicting anything. Right? But remember we were talking about causation before? So like I do believe there's an element of entanglement that goes on when you're shuffling the cards. Right? And certain cards this is where people would think magic, and this is not scientific, but I think certain cards could come up that are more relevant to the energy that's flowing through me right now.
Absolutely. I mean, if it works with this and it works with dice, we know that it should work with cards too.
Right. Right, S.C.R.E.A.M? Just chilling right here next to me.
Oh.
Editing, table, plates, vacation, wow. Okay, so we have card number 18, which is the moon, another major arcana. And so... the moon. This sensual Batwoman, so 3 women, 3 female cards.
Mm-hmm.
This sensual Batwoman is mysterious and dreamlike. She, like the moon, is a symbol of womanhood and exploration. Yet she also has a certain darkness and informal nature. Queen of the night and aware of hidden forces. She implores us to face the depths of our inner world and to pay attention to our intuitions and instincts.
Hmm.
And it is right side up, so it's fancies, hallucinations. I'm sorry, I've got the divinatory meaning, subconscious, intuition, imagination, and dreams, hidden desires, remembrance, childhood clairvoyance, a new life, voyages, withdrawn attitude. So this is kind of interesting. This just came up. What I did one of the things I did today, while I think we were texting, I was over on Webster Street. I wrote about 6 pages. You know the story I tell about the refrigeration
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
near-death experience? So I started writing that out.
Oh, nice.
So I wrote about 6 pages, but it was childhood clairvoyance. So that card came up, right? So this is kind of like what I was, kind of a good example of what I meant earlier, in that when does an event really happen? Did this card just come up just now, or the fact that I was writing like
UPS,
like what I was said screw ups.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was talking about the stoplight, walking up to the stoplight or going down the alley, this is kind of an example of that happening. So on the national scale, though, that's really the purpose of this was subconscious intuition, hidden desires and dreams,
Mm-hmm.
a new life, voyages, withdrawn attitude. On the national scene, does that mean anything to you?
Diller,
Can you read the keywords one more time?
Subconscious, intuition, imagination and dreams, hidden desires, remembrance, childhood clairvoyance, a new life, voyages, withdrawn attitude.
Yes, that definitely sounds relevant. I think that when we talk about creativity, sparking ideas, sparking innovations, sparking really outlines of a better structure of how society could work even. That is what people want moving forward.
Yeah, I think so when I'm thinking of this, you know how you may not understand this about human gender, but some of us have a female and a male side.
I do too. I understand that.
So
Romani,
obviously I'm being facetious.
nuclear
That's
free,
totally fine.
So
sportsman coordinators, kookiness, photobomb, duck, antivirus, devious barbiturates,
Kookiness,
ooh,
antivirus.
look at that.
gigas,
Antivirus, devious barbiturates.
Photobomb. Gigas,
Wow.
coordinators, sportsmen.
So what I was thinking of this when I was reading those keywords were, you know how we have a conscious self, which I just, for ease of definition, that's the decision making self,
Yes.
right? That's the one where you get to decide what you're going to do next. Then there's the subconscious self, which is the underlying physiological drivers. It's always at work. And then the unconscious self is when we're asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of what's in there, in the alpha frequency, I think there, between the sleep and awake part,
Taken,
is
USGA,
a consciousness,
Commercialization.
subconscious, collective consciousness at play,
Pathfinder,
which you could say in this case
Demo.
would represent in the future what might represent.
Doornail,
Wow, this is a long run.
Yeah.
maintainable DeCarlo challenges connected if invested Belmont shillings,
Hmm.
non-voting, Hinton.
Non-voting.
Non-voting. That's me. This whole
Okay.
conversation is about non-voting.
Dorsey.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, wow. Non-voting.
And when a word comes up here, it is choosing between roughly about,
Hardcover.
it has the choice of 150,000 different choices, right?
It's 200, 2 to the 17th power. 131,072 to be exact.
131,000, yeah. So
Risk.
so it's kind of cool when one comes up and it has some relevance to our
Enlightenment.
conversation.
Yeah.
Because this is a form, for those listening, this is a form of artificial intelligence in its infancy, literally. We're just now really experiencing what this means with the database hooked up to it.
Mm-hmm.
So people are actually listening to the sound of a non-random form of consciousness, which we describe in our press release, actually.
Yep. Link to our press release in the descriptions.
And it's hooked up to a database, and people can see an example of this on our website as well at halo8i.me. If you just register on the website as a free member, that's in the ACE section, $0 per month.
Mm-hmm.
You will get access. Maybe I even took that off. But if you go into the area called Hypercube, you can see a version of it at work. What we have here is far more sophisticated than that, but there's an example of it at work. And this is the first, I believe.
Yep.
Now, what will happen is our competitors and people who have been working on this for years are going to see this video first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our primary audience.
Definitely.
And one of the things, I think I made a fairly conscious decision earlier not to pursue the formal patent protection. For one thing, I think patent system slows down a lot of innovation. This is one of the problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're just a garage inventor and you come up with a good idea, you've got to invest thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just to protect the idea, right?
Yeah.
And basically, you're just turning it over to the government. You're saying, here's this a good idea. Will you let me protect it? But either way, they know what it is.
Yeah.
So it's a protection racket.
Yeah.
So to me, the moon is the divine feminine energy that flows through us all, and that we are most able to connect with each other, I believe, while we're in a heightened dream state like REM state, or at either dusk or dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, we lost it. As soon as I said dusk or dawn. So it's pretty much the same error packages, same error messages when it dies.
Interesting.
Okay, I'm going to start it again. So what's the latest news?
Everything looks like it's going as expected according to the polling.
Hold on, I can't hear you.
Enhances ether-spirit modulation for people evolve as consciousness expands. We are broadcasting from the Hypercube Algorithmic Language Oracle.
You can't turn this
Your
off.
pilot is Captain Madrid and your first officer is Dr. Caputi. Hold on as we chill the frack out and take a digital trip through the inner space travel station, guided by the principal laws of anthromemoration and spatial relativity. Be sure to gaze into the ether spirit modulator for a consciousness expanding experience.
To answer your question about news, the results that have come in so far are pretty consistent with what the polling indicated. I don't see anything wildly off here. Florida is leaning Trump. 91% reporting, so that'll probably go to Trump. Uh, but Pennsylvania is leading Biden, and so is Texas, and Ohio as well. So there's a ways to go here, and there's many ways anything can get all messed up, but that's where we're at right now.
So who's winning?
Biden. Biden has 119 locked down. Trump has 92 so far. And
so going into this, if you hadn't, let's say, following the polls, I don't know if you're able to do this, but if you were just going by instinct and looking at what's out there other than the polls,
mm-hmm.
like what you see on the streets and things like that, would you fall into either the Trump camp or the Biden camp?
In other words, who do I think would win?
Based on personal experience, not the polls. Like if you're just somebody who doesn't care what the polls think, or just doesn't even know what it is,
right?
You would look at who's showing up, because like around here, where I live in Alameda, if you were to like show up with a MAGA hat somewhere, you would just be pounced on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like I think what they refer to as the. I mean, I'm not a Trump supporter, but like if I showed up with a Trump T-shirt, people would be like fighting with me.
Right.
So where I am, if I was to look around me, I would say Biden's definitely going to win.
Yeah, I would say the same thing here. Based on my experience, I would say the energy is anti-Trump in this country. And
what about the silent majority?
I don't really believe in that so much. That's basically saying there's a whole bunch of people that are on the right and love, things like racism and all that, but just don't talk about it because they're...
That's not what I'm saying at all. No. The silent majority for us, for what I would say for living in the Bay Area, anybody who's not an extreme leftist, or let's just even say they support Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they're just going to vote. They're business savvy. They want to vote for Trump just because they feel like they have to make a vote.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go left. They don't really. They just see that they got more interest. They don't buy into all that other stuff.
Right.
But what they do is
apologies, Murray. Farm to Market Textiles Baryshnikov Bird.
They just
Thundered Sword.
They go to work. They just don't say anything. They're silent about. Let's just say last time they voted for Trump, they're technically majority winning.
Mm-hmm.
They got the majority of something. And
arithmetic. Evac.
I'm trying to share the screen again, but it's not working.
Your screen is already being shared.
Oh, no wonder.
Stronger NGL, former convention resent mugged Kulikov.
All I see is Zoom. You have to move over the language oracle to the Zoom page. Or wherever. Yeah, there you go.
That worked?
Yep.
Okay.
Disability adjusted.
Debt. Wow.
Close.
Mm-hmm. NGL, not gonna lie.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Wow. When she gets on a run.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to do a quick, we're going to do a little quick consciousness experiment. And I'm going to bring out Cloak.
Okay.
Okay, so we're done with the cards. So I would say that both of what we kind of described is the divine feminine, manifesting in the subconscious. And I think throughout this ordeal that the world is in right now, because I'd say my overriding philosophy on relationship between the sexes is symbiosis, right? And that both of those sides have to interconnect with each other and the outside world in a symbiotic manner.
Right.
And one of the ways I like symbiosis, think about symbiosis, is the phrase instantaneous symbiotic reciprocation.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna have
We
to
just
restart
lost
the language oracle.
Yeah. Let it run down a little bit. Finish this concept before we start it again. So, yeah, does this person represent, that's not you, does this represent anybody outside in your life, outside of, maybe in our time, that our team could be, I would say, in this role is kind of Mason's role.
Yeah.
Like the female moon child goddess, like some of those phrases definitely would describe her
Mm-hmm.
and what she's doing to the project. I mean, if you go to the website, that's pretty much all her
work.
as far as
Yeah.
coming up and looking at it. So yeah. So that's a thought that maybe, even though we were talking about international stuff, how that brings it back to the real world.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about Mason until just now.
Yeah, now I hear you. Goddess, we're all goddesses, but yeah, that's especially relevant. So you were gonna bring out Cloak. What's the experiment?
Oh, just to see if any cat energy comes up on the halo.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and start it again.
Okay, I want to meet Cloak.
And then the way I'm gonna do, okay, so I gotta give you the lay of land, because I might have to run off. So SB, I've been watching Jackson Galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at his video on how to introduce cats, and I thought, but I came up with a shortcut that he didn't even discuss on his videos that may or may not be working.
Okay.
But it seems like it's working, because I thought it would shut. Because one of the things he said is, instead of just introducing them together, their scents need to commingle together.
Yes.
To where that it's not a foreign scent.
Exactly.
Right. And their way to do it was to put food bowls on the opposite side of the door. So they associate eating, which is a good thing, with the other cat smell.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I did that yesterday. Now I just picked up the cat on Halloween, so today is day what? 2.
Mm-hmm.
And a half.
Day 3, right?
Day 3, technically. She came by. It was around 3 p.m. on Saturday. So she's a Halloween black cat. He's a Halloween black cat.
Mm-hmm.
Completely the opposite of SB. Like personality-wise, he just sits on my chest, and he's a purr machine. Right? But he looks like a big rat. Really thin, nimble as hell. He's already gotten into things that I thought he could not get into, but he's already done it.
Oh, wow.
He's willing to take choices and make jumps that he can't make.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So the idea of it's almost like a little kid in here. So I got to close a couple things. But I'm just going to open the door and let her come out.
Okay.
SB's right there. And what I'm going to try to do though is get SB into the other room, close the door, and I'll bring her or him up to the desk. Let's see. Okay, so this is going to start. And all right.
Welcome to Scream for Peace, where spontaneous creativity rapidly enhances ether spirit modulation for people evolve as consciousness expands. We are broadcasting from the Hypercube Algorithmic Language Oracle. Your pilot is Captain Madrid and your first officer is Dr. Caputi. Hold on as we chill the frack out and take a digital trip through the inner space travel station, guided by the principal laws of anthromemoration and spatial relativity. Be sure to gaze into the ether spirit modulator for a consciousness expanding experience.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, so the door's open, and SB is eyeballing Cloak.
Aw.
SB's sitting in her little round bed. Cloak is entering. They're about. Oh, look at that. This is the first time SB did not just hiss. I haven't heard one hiss yet, but I can see an attack coming. Look at that little guy.
Yeah. Hello, Cloak.
Nope.
Did she hiss?
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause getting close.
Look at that guy.
Yeah.
Ain't he cute?
Mm-hmm.
There's SB. Wow, I'm surprised that she's not like jumping. This is progress.
Absolutely.
This is pretty good for day. This is pretty good for day 3.
Yeah. Warming up.
I thought I was gonna have to run her in the other room, but I might not have to.
Maybe they'll cuddle together tonight.
I'm not gonna go that far.
Never know.
Never know. I do anticipate that happening, though,
Mm-hmm.
in the near future or in the future. But last night the cat just jumped right on my neck.
Aw.
Like literally fell asleep. So like he's all over. He's just Mr. Cuddles. Purrs and cuddles.
Yeah. I don't see the language oracle on the shared screen, by the way.
Okay, I'm gonna move it over. So I'm interested in. I might pull this up because I'm interested if there have been. So you're looking at the polls, but what is the general like? Are there any controversies coming up? Anything like that?
Not yet. Not that I can see.
I'm signing in on my laptop. Can you see the screen?
Yep. Sure can.
So walk me through the scenario in relation to the Great Reset and what happens if Biden and Harris win. What would be your projection over the next, or even that? Just put this in the thought experiment world.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you were an adamant Biden and Harris supporter.
Hard to imagine, but okay.
Okay. That's why I said thought experiment.
Yeah.
Imagine you were one of those. What would be your perception of the best case scenario over the next 4 years? Like if you had a magic wand and just picked that voter out and said, name your top 3 things that's going to happen or whatever over the next 4 years, and they're going to happen. What would that be?
Universal health care, Green New Deal, and I'd have to think. Maybe not particularly Green New Deal, but some strides towards climate change. A more democratic Supreme Court. Stuff like that, I think, would be...
Say that again, that last part.
More democratic Supreme Court, more LGBT rights, stuff of that sort.
SB went after him.
Oh,
Gotta keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
But it's not really that bad. I
Yeah.
mean, that took a while.
That's good.
But I don't think they're ready to sleep in the same room.
Yeah. Not yet. They'll get there.
Say hello.
Hello, Cloak. Aw. Maximize the screen.
Now SB's walking in looking for him.
Yep. Where's that cat?
Yes.
Cool.
He's pretty cool. It really surprised me. This is actually the first kitten I've ever held as an adult.
Aw.
I don't think I've ever even held one. Like a kitten this young.
Yeah, he is young.
He's like 2 months old, something like that.
Wow.
I still don't have the paperwork. They forgot to bring it with them in the email it to me, or send it in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, I don't know, are all kittens like this? When was the last time you held a kitten in your own hands?
Long time ago. Yeah. I mean, Leah, I didn't get until she was an adult. Yeah,
It's a fragile little life.
Yeah.
But I think in some ways, it's like, think about the nature of consciousness in animals.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I think there have been studies done or showing that when a cat sits on your chest and purrs, your heart rate moves towards a more stable or measurable state of calm.
That definitely makes sense.
Which makes complete sense.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't it? Can you hear me? My internet
She found the streets. This stuff from Jackson Galaxies.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I said it's getting choppy. So this is Churu. I got this from the Jackson Galaxy store.
Mm-hmm.
SB won't touch it. Like, I put it right up to her nose, nothing.
Wow.
Like, put it on the food, nothing. Nothing special at all. This little guy, watch it. He loves it.
Aww.
But he sought that out. He found it over here. I forgot it was sitting on the desk.
Mm-hmm.
The SB's right here. If I hand it to SB, let's see. She won't touch it. SB will not eat out of my hands.
She has to be served.
Like, if I put food in my hand, she won't eat out of it. Under any conditions. She'll go in and she wants me to pet her if she sees my hand. Yeah. But if I lay it on the ground, she'll eat it.
Cats are weird.
She's getting a little jealous here. He's going to be a strong little guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's already pretty nimble. High five. I'm going to teach him how to high five. But cat consciousness, the fact, see that?
Yeah.
When I walk around my neighborhood, it's a lot of historical homes here back to the 40s and 50s. Oh, I heard an interesting story today. You know how you go around? Remember the house you looked at that you had sort of considered moving to? That was the big Victorian that was converted.
Yeah, I do.
What happened? There's a lot of those on the island. Huge Victorians that were originally constructed as single-family homes, right? And they were the Victorian homes of San Francisco. This was like the first, I guess, or one of the first, like, I I don't know if resort town it is, but the neighborhood that came out was big homes,
Mm-hmm.
and they were 50 by 100-foot blocks. And then what happened during World War II is there was a housing shortage, and people needed to put up all the people in the military. There wasn't enough place for the military, so there was a movement and probably government subsidies to convert single-family homes into multi-dwelling units.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where all that. That's where a lot of those came from,
Interesting.
and you see them all over the island. So, let's say best case scenario, all that stuff comes into play, but what happens on the political civil rights stuff? BLM, protest, Trump, hatred, Supreme Court, whatever, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In relationship to the lockdown and what you know about the Great Reset.
Best case scenario?
Most probable
Most
if they won.
if Biden wins.
The Biden people win. They're taking over the presidency, but there's still contention on both sides because the people, the Republicans, are convinced that it was an unfair loss. So they do the same thing to Biden that the same thing would happen to him. So they go into, these are fake results. They're going to challenge it. There'll be huge controversy.
Well, I think what would happen is, there would be an increase in.
How long we throw this in there? Including how long until Kamala just steps in and takes over?
A year.
It would take a year?
Probably. I mean...
Sounds about right.
Yeah. In relation to the lockdown, the reset, all that, I do think Joe Biden would...
Did you hear what's happening in Slovakia? I think it's Slovakia, something like that. They're going into a nationwide lockdown.
Right.
And they have a low COVID rate, comparatively speaking to, it's lower than places in the U.S. and the U.S. isn't even considering a nationwide lockdown.
Right.
Because of that.
Well, yeah, we're going to find out soon enough if there's other motives.
That's weird.
For the lockdown. What?
Well, the stuff that's happening in other places of the world, I think, are just as relevant as what's happening here.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody should say, well, just because it's happening there doesn't mean it can't happen here, or that we should in any way kind of dismiss that.
Yeah, I'm not dismissing.
Because our election, but the whole world is going into chaos.
Yeah. Absolutely. Increasing
but where are
chaos.
the protests? There's got to be protests going on. Look at that. Isn't there planned protests?
Mm-hmm.
Or even if they're not protests, they're going to be people are either going to be having. This probably can't be good for them, giving them too much. People got to be planning to get together for some type of march, whether it's a victory or a protest, right?
Yeah.
It's they're planning to meet no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I just imagine downtown Oakland being chaos by midnight.
Tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm expecting to hear bombs and everything.
White House too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really been watching all that stuff, but the one of the reports I saw was that the White House was prepared for a siege and put up extra stuff around the
Yeah,
barriers.
I saw that. Yeah, yeah.
That's real?
Mm-hmm. From what I could tell.
So do you think that was a publicity stunt?
I don't know. Probably not. But it could be.
I still some way support my and I got some stuff for you. Dream sequence that all of this is going to end in a pillow fight dance party.
That would be great. That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. Let's hope for that.
With a big long sleepover.
Yep. That's going to be great.
But put yourself in like White House security position, and if it actually happened, let's say everybody just stormed. Like it wasn't even about, because like when people get bloodthirsty, it's just like it's like the zombie apocalypse. Right? They just go crazy. And so imagine BLM and the Proud Boys and all this groups are all around the White House, and the barriers fall. It just becomes too much, and everybody just like turns their attention to the White House, either defending it or taking it over or something. And there's just like a huge fight out on the things. And imagine your Secret Service and having to fire on that crowd.
Yeah.
That's a really tough position to be in.
Absolutely.
He's going to town.
No.
Draconium eva im S.C.R.E.A.M masterminded septuagenarian Hein.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't septuagenarian? That's a 70s person, right?
Think so. Yeah.
So Trump they're both in their 70s, right?
Yeah. Septuagenarian. Let me look that up.
Scariness. Mastermind. That's funny.
Yeah, that's correct. Person who's 70.
Scary mastermind in their 70s.
Yeah.
He eats a lot.
Oh, yeah?
He eats a lot more. He eats like twice as much as Sprinkles.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's young and growing. That's what they do. Is that right, Leah?
But he's just cute and playful and wants to play, right? Because he came from a house with a lot of cats, a lot of pets.
Yeah.
So they're just always playing. So he just wants to play, and she's just.
Oh.
I give it about a week or two before they are interfacing.
It might even be sooner, but yeah, I would say definitely by 2 weeks. I was surprised at how fast Leah adapted to the move. She was, like, by that night, pretty comfortable. I mean, there's a lot of the same furniture, so the scent stays, and that tends to help. But I was preparing for a lot worse. I thought she was going to take her, like, a month, or at least a week, to get used to living here. But, no, she adjusted really well. Is that right? Is that what you did?
You know what I did? You know what I did with her is, I forgot. I started this before and I changed topics, but in the food bowl thing, I did something that I didn't see in Jackson Galaxy, and that is I swapped the boxes. I cleaned the boxes out, but I left the the pee smell in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I swapped them. So I forced them to use each other's cat box.
That helps.
But it was a risk because I really had to risk the fact that I wasn't so much worried about cloak, but I thought SB wouldn't use it, and I would find it. I would step in it.
Mhm.
That's how I found it. But so far, it's working.
That's good.
So that worked yesterday.
Good. Is that right, Leah? She says yes. Meow. We all have cats.
So cat consciousness. Imagine. Oh, what was that? Serviceable.
Boy. Coal mining.
So if you could put a collar on a cat,
Mm-hmm.
record when it meows, what it's doing, layout of the house, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I think you could potentially create an artificial intelligence interface component where you could almost communicate with it.
Yeah. Especially, if an AI that differentiates the different meows.
Yeah.
She agrees. What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
Hey, the very first time when I decided, I wouldn't say this is what decided it, but it just made it easier because I was looking at a picture of Cloak online,
Mm-hmm.
and I turned to SP, who was sitting right there. I'm like, "Hey, do you want a little brother?" And she did that, just like Leah did, just like meow,
Aww.
voice yeah. And I'm like, okay. So then it happened,
Yep.
and I can see her right now. She's over there watching.
Yeah.
I don't even know where Cloak's.
Cool. So, yeah, we're approaching a 3-hour stream here. I'm kind of getting hungry.
Yeah, me too. You want to call it?
Yeah, that'll be good. I'm also kind of getting antsy about gluing my eyes to the screen as they come in, because that's like something we can't miss as consciousness researchers.
Well, I'm gonna keep doing. I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean by that?
Oh, just being tuned into the consciousness that's out there right now, sweeping across America, seeing if any chaos erupts, stuff like that.
Right. I've actually never participated in a watch party or followed the election this closely.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, in the past, it's always just been, oh, I wonder who's going to be the president tomorrow.
Yeah.
And whoever that is, that's who the president was.
Right. Wasn't
But also think about in the military, when you're in the military, the president is the commander in chief. Doesn't matter who it is.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I was when I was 18 and just beginning to vote, you're told in the military, this isn't about politics.
Yeah.
You got to take your orders no matter what.
Right.
And everything basically comes down from the commander in chief. And so you don't really have people. Obviously, there's probably more Republicans than anything in the military. At least it was when I was there.
Yeah.
And
well, that makes sense. But go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, but it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was in, Bill Clinton was president.
Right.
And so that was a Democratic president. That didn't affect how I did my job every day. Didn't care.
Yeah. You're
taking
your orders from the same people.
Right, because I look at that when you're doing this, you're participating in a way different part of democracy.
Yes.
Way different part. So I think that kind of attitude of not really caring who got in, because I'm going to be doing the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
Has continued my whole life.
Pulsar hypervariable copywriter gas Acme overpowered Lomer injection site.
That's good to have kind of a detached, dissociated attitude from all the chaos.
Yeah.
But I still,
Okay.
I like to see what's
If
happening, but that's just me.
Okay, we already know that Philadelphia is on lockdown. We already know that Washington and Portland and all that stuff's in a continuous state of chaos.
Yeah.
Which new city is going to be the focus of like whatever happens? Which is the big city that's going to pop out?
Cincinnati, that just came to mind.
Cincinnati.
Ohio's a big
For
swing
some,
state.
for some reason, I thought of Louisiana,
Possible.
but I think Florida, Washington D.C. I think there could possibly be violence at the White House in some way.
Definitely. Yeah.
Uh-oh, they're going at it.
All right. All right. Well, let's end the stream.
Okay, thanks for tuning in.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next election day. No, we'll see you way sooner than that.
I like the well, yeah. Let's do this soon.
Yeah.
Again,
Sounds
over
good.
some specific topics, but we'll keep this up.
All right. Thanks, everybody,
All
for
right.
tuning in. See you next time.
Talk to you later.
Yeah. All right. Let's end.